What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Mount MoGraph. My name's Matt, and in today's video we're going to be making this Hipster Swag Badge Summit 27. Basically, I was in Chicago this last weekend visiting some friends, and pretty much every bar or restaurant I went to had some kind of logo that looked like this. So I just kind of threw together something. And this video is going to be a little different than my normal video. It's going to be a little bit simpler, but it's going to cover some cool stuff. Basically, we're going to go into Illustrator and design this, and I'll show you kind of like the principles of design, especially when you're using multiple fonts, which could be helpful for some of you. If you want to skip ahead, I will be covering some more advanced features in the graph editor to get a really nice smooth motion. So take a look, and yeah, we'll get into it. Yeah, so basically as you're watching this, it's not going to look super fancy. Basically everything comes in and out, but if you notice, it's very, very smooth. So it's a lot different than your standard eases, and I'll show you how you can use the graph editor and basically use only two little keyframes and get this really slick motion, how everything kind of has a bounce back. So I think this video is definitely worth watching. I'm pretty excited about this one, and I hope you guys enjoy it. I'll also throw a link to all the fonts in the description of this video if you want to download them. I just found these three and I really liked them, so I went with it. But anyway, let's jump into Illustrator and get this started. And this should be a relatively quick video. So let's do Command N to create a new composition. I'm going to be making my 1920 by 1080, and this is just my logo right here that I'll just be throwing in there, and you can throw whatever you want in there. So basically how I started this was just pretty much made a really quick little text box, and then I just used the font Haymaker. So I'm going to type in Haymaker, and I'll show you where to download that as well in the video description, and just center that, and I'm going to type in MoGraph. You can really do whatever you want with it, but obviously, since this is Mount MoGraph, that's what I'm going with. And then just click off that, and we'll just center this real quick. And we'll also be covering how to like prep your image for import into After Effects, which should be pretty helpful as well. Okay, so now that we have our text created, let's just click it and go into the type drop down menu up here. Click that and do Create Outlines. Actually, don't do that yet. I was just kidding. So just let's select our M over here. And I'm just going to do 120, and on my H, I'm also going to do 120. So now that those are selected, as you can see, if I was to zoom in, our text isn't all lined up anymore. So what we're going to do is just highlight your M, which is a bigger letter. We're going to go over into our character menu here and do a baseline shift. So I'm just going to click this down. If you want, you can do Command R to bring up your menu, your ruler right here, and just drag out a guide. So I'm going to do that, and it's kind of hard to see. It's a teal color, but you can kind of get the picture, and that's a good way to just line all your letters up. So I'm just going to click a couple times until it looks pretty good. I just wanted the top to be all even, and that looks good. So I'll just highlight my guide layer here. So this blue line, and just press delete because I don't need it anymore. And then I'll do Command R to hide my ruler again. Okay, so now we have this really awesome MoGraph text, and I'm just going to go up into my type menu right here, click that, and go to Create Outlines, and that will just make it so it's all vector shapes, as you can see with the little nodes around there. All right, so I'm just going to go and just copy my logo into here. So I'll just come back here and do Command V to paste it in. You can really do anything. You could draw something. I just thought I'd use the logo because, well, I'm making like a little channel hipster channel identity. So I'm just gonna roll with it. Okay, so basically I'm gonna create a new layer over here and just draw a circle. So let's see, I'll just draw a circle, and I will center this in the middle of my composition, and then I'll just turn my opacity down to maybe like 60%, and then I'll lock that layer. So I'm going to use this just as like a guide layer for when I'm lining everything up, and you'll see why. So let me just grab this MoGraph and this mountain, and I'll do Command G to group them, and then I'll align them in the middle of my little circle over here in the middle of my page, and then I can do Shift Command G to ungroup these layers so I can move them around again. So now that we have our circle here, we can kind of get a sense of how everything is going to get laid out. So let's draw another circle. I'm just going to draw one kind of Let's see, I'll center this in the middle, and I'll turn the opacity down too just for a second to see. So I'm going to use this kind of as like a horizon of my object here, and a lot of times it's helpful to use circles as your guides. It's very natural. You can get a very nice look to it. So I always try to use that to some extent, and I'm actually going to size this up a little bit. So just hold Alt and Shift and scale this up. That'll scale it up proportionally from the middle, and I'm going to drag this down, and I'm going to try to get it to act like a horizon over my object, so kind of where like the skyline would be. And once you're happy with that, just go over into your text tool over here and click and hold, and go and click this where is it, type on path tool. So select that and just click on your path, and we will be able to type. So I'm going to type special. I'll do Command A to select all my text here, and I think I used the wisdom script here, so I'm going to type in wisdom and just get that in there, and then I'm going to just scale this down a bit because that's very large. So then I'll go back to my selection tool, and I'm going to rotate this holding Shift, so it rotates in 45-degree increments until it's roughly at the top. It's a little off-centered, but of course you can tweak that just by clicking and dragging it until you're happy with it. Some of these, this is probably a little bit off-center now, but just because of the weight of the letters, it's going to make it look slightly off-center. So just drag that around until you like it. And then I'm just going to hold Shift and click down a couple times and get this a little bit closer to my mountains, just so we have a nice tight little logo, maybe even a little bit more down. So there we go. I'm liking that. Let's create that bottom part of this logo. So similar to how we did our first one, let's create another circle and just drag this out, and make sure you center it. Maybe go up into your opacity and turn this down to about 40% just so we can see what we're doing. And let's actually make this one bigger. I'm going to scale this up a little bit, and we're going to use this to kind of like I would kind of get the circle to go on the bottom of these letters to create a nice smooth arc. So let's go and grab our text tool and make sure it's on type on path tool rather, and click the bottom of our path here. And I'm going to type summits because that's what my videos are. You can really use anything you want. And I'm going to change these not to Wingdings. I don't know why I switched to that, but to Typograph Pro, which is a font I really like. It's very simple and it's very legible. So that is always good. So just go and click your selection tool over here, and you're going to see these little squares. And what you can do is actually drag these squares. Sometimes they're hard to get. Let me try that. Whoa. Let me try that again. Sometimes they're a little weird to get. But basically, if you can get your mouse on them, there we go. And that's not what I want. I grabbed the wrong one. Yeah, this is let's see, you're supposed to flip inside here. I'll get it eventually. Yeah, these are always a little funny to play around with. I'm trying to get it. Just give me a second here. All right, I'm gonna just move this over here. Maybe I'll be able to click it better. What the heck? This is gonna drive me nuts. There we go. Okay, so it's actually this top line here. It's not these, I thought it was these little squares down here. Just grab this top line, and it's kind of hard to get, I guess. I'm having trouble, but a little symbol will pop up. What you're going to want to do is, now it's not giving me the right tool. Come on, Illustrator, what are you doing? Alright, so basically just tilt it around until your text is on the inside of your circle. Best of luck to you getting that. That was not as hard before, and I don't know why that was so weird to get. But anyway, you got to grab that little line above your text, so it's like right here. It's kind of hidden, and you're going to have to like pull out or pull in, and it's going to flip your text inside of your circle, which will give it that nice arc without deforming it. So then I'm just going to place it roughly where I wanted it again. And then I'll maybe select my text here and just scale this down because this is, we don't want it to be the same size as our main text. So I'm going to scale that down to about 50 so we still have a nice, nice little array of objects. So now that we have all our objects in here, let me just grab all of these with my selection marquee and just center them. And that's why I like working in Illustrator, is it just makes everything very easy to work with, and you can create paths and stuff easier. I got a comment asking why I work in Illustrator and import into After Effects, just because I like these tools. When you're working with more complex layers or characters, it's just a lot easier to put together and layer out instead of in After Effects with the shape layers, although that is an option if you'd like to. So when I first made this, I was like, okay, that looks kind of cool, but I feel like it's missing some elements. So what I did was I created another text, and I just put some numbers, like since we're in 2014, I just typed 20, and then, it's kind of like a motif. You put one on each side and get this nice little layout. So I'm going to scale this down to maybe 35 points. And basically what I did was I just lined up, since it's centered, I just lined up one of the sides to the end of my MoGraph text, and then I moved this over until it snapped to the center of my circle. And then I just duplicated this layer holding Alt and placed it also in the middle, and then made this other side 14 for 2014. So now that I have those laid out, I basically just moved these up until they looked okay to my eye. So I kind of kept it closer to the top of my logo here and just had it, I thought this looked kind of nice. And then I was looking at it and I was like, I'm still missing some elements. So what I did was I created just this really quick little line here. So I just dragged out the rectangle tool and maybe scaled this down a little bit. That's a little large. And tilted this. And 90 degrees holding shift, or 45 degrees holding shift, and selected all these objects here and grouped them together, so Command G. And then I went into my object menu and clicked expand, say OK, and then it's going to just cut everything into their own layers. So these aren't going to be editable anymore, but they're going to be vector layers. And that's just going to make it so now that they're grouped, they're in a smaller little box or selection. So if I grab both of these, I can center them together very easily and get that. So I'm going to actually scale up this rectangle a bit and just do the same step and align these. And then, so now that I have this, I like it. And I'm going to just make another circle here. So grab your ellipse tool and do that and just center it in the middle of your logo here, and just turn your opacity down. And basically you're going to want to make sure it goes a little bit around your summit and your special, or whatever you chose to do. So hold Alt and Shift and just scale this up a little bit until it covers just around this. And we're going to select all our little line that goes through here, go over into our Pathfinder and just click the minus front. So when we do that, it's going to cut our line for us. I'm actually going to scale this up just a little bit more and then do it. It was coming a little bit close to my text and I didn't like that. So I'm going to duplicate this. So do Command C to copy it and Command F to paste it in front of this layer in the same spot. Go and select this corner and we're going to rotate it by holding Shift, and we're going to rotate this 90 degrees. So now I have this logo set up. I'm going to go and select my guide layer and just delete this. So there we go. We have this really nice laid out thing, and as you can see, it has a I think it has a nice flow to it because we use these arcs. And just generally what I learned through my school and everything was arcs are going to be the most pleasing kind of design to your eye. So as you can see, we have all these little like subtle circles and round round lines in our object. And I don't know, it just looks good to the eye. And that's a good way to approach design, is just to keep everything in like a nice circle kind of layout and give it a nice smooth, like even on these letters, we have kind of this arc here. So it just adds a lot of, I don't know, like a good feel to whatever you design. So now that we have this made, let's prep this to import into After Effects. So first I'm going to go up into my file here and go down to my color setup mode. And since we're not printing it, which is for CMYK, let's change it to RGB, which is for computer screen. So just click that. You're not going to see a change, but that's just going to make it so the color and the gamma stays the same as we bring it into After Effects, which is an RGB program. So now that we have that set up, let's just go and select our layer one and go up into this little menu here. Click that and go down to Release to Layers and Sequence. So first we're going to get, actually, you know what might be easier here is, let's just see. So click that again, Release Layers to Sequence again. Click this, Release Layers to Sequence one more time. This might be, actually, here, I'm doing this wrong. So I'm going to do Command Z a couple times just to get us back to here. Delete that guide layer one more time. I just thought of something that might be easier. Let's select all of our layers and do Shift Command G to ungroup them. So I'm just going to select all of them and do Shift Command G, and now they should all be individual elements, which is exactly what we want. and that's going to be much easier. So now I'm going to click my layer and click here and go down to release layers to sequence, and now it's going to separate it much better for us because I had these all grouped before, which would make it so they're in groups and they're going to be much more layers to go through to get these. So now I'm just going to click each layer to see what I have and maybe create a whole bunch of new layers. So I'll just drag these. Actually, I'll just click these and drag these out to the bottom and delete these layers real quick. And I'm just going to go through and name these. So just use your eye tool, see what these are. So I'm going to call this top right stick, I guess, for lack of better words. And I'll hide that layer just for a second. So this is going to be bottom right stick. Actually, this was top left stick. I don't know what I'm doing. Top left stick sounds good. I'll go over into my bottom one here and do bottom left stick. I'm using a hyphen for these two, I guess. The other one wasn't cool enough. And then this one is going to be our top right stick. So I always say this, but staying organized is key to being good at motion graphics. You know, if you're working with a whole bunch of like layer 1, layer 2, you're gonna definitely get confused pretty quick. You know, I feel like as soon as you hit over 20, unless you're Rain Man, you are not gonna know what's happening. So just keep that in mind as you are designing. So I'm gonna just keep naming these layers real quick, and then in no time at all, we will be into After Effects, and I'll show you the cool little tricks. And I think this video should fly by, but I am enjoying it so far. Hope you guys are too. Drop me a like or leave me a comment if you are. So I'll call this logo. And actually on this last layer, I was thinking we want to add a little bit more interest. Like we're going to have this smooth motion. And since this is kind of, for at least for me, my key part of the design, I want all these letters to come in separately. So on this one, I'm just going to select the layer and go to release layers to sequence. I guess I'll have to release layers to sequence one more. Oh, whoopsie. Let's do that thing I just forgot to tell you about the time before. Select your layer and do Shift Command G to ungroup the layers. And as you can see on my panel over here, they all jumped out and did it themselves. And then I will just click up here, release layers to sequence, and then just drag these out like that and save me a lot of time and work, and hopefully you guys too. So let me just name these layers real quick, just to stay organized, because that's what we're all about. And then we will jump into After Effects and finish this project out, and hopefully you guys learned something cool. All right, so I got this saved. I'm just going to save this over to my desktop here. I don't know what I was just trying to save this as. I'm going to call this Hipster Swag Badge. Could you even think of a better name? I couldn't, so that's what I came up with, obviously. All right, so I'm just going to open After Effects, and that little task launcher I popped up is called Alfred, and I just like it because it keeps my dock nice and clean and only shows me the stuff that I'm actually using. So as this is loading, let's just take another look and see if my design is looking pretty similar, and I think it is. Once again, I'm really liking these nice curves we have all over our design. So now that we're into After Effects here, let me just go into my my simple layout for us, and I'm going to go into my project window and just do Command I to import my Hipster Swag Badge that's on my desktop right here, and I'm going to import this as a composition and retain layer sizes, and just click open. And now click into the Hipster Swag Badge, and there we go. We'll have a nice black background that we can't see anything on, which we do not want. So here, let's do this. Let's go back into Illustrator, and one of the nice things about Illustrator and After Effects is that if you're importing after Illustrator projects, you are actually able to go back into your design and move stuff around, and it'll update into After Effects. Or in our case, we're going to select everything and just create a different color, because I don't want to work on black on white. That's kind of boring. So I'm just going to create a kind of beigey gray color like this, and do Command S to save it. And when we hop back into After Effects, it's going to update just like that. So let's do Command Y to create a solid layer, and let's make this a kind of dark red or dark gray. So mine's already perfect, but I'll just click that and say OK. And then I will drag this background layer all the way down to the bottom of my composition, and we're going to have this nice looking layout. So I'm going to name this solid layer BG for background, and go over into my my lock here and click lock on my background, just so we can't move it around even if we try to, which is good. And then I'm going to go and click the little shy icon right here and click shy here to hide my background layer. So first, I'd just like to work with this MoGraph text. So I'm going to select all my other layers here and also just click the shy thing, and they'll pop away and keep our timeline nice and clean, but they'll still be in our picture. So now what we're going to do is let's just zoom in on our timeline, pressing plus on our keyboard a couple times to zoom in, and go to 1 second. Select all your layers with your selection marquee, just click and drag. Press B on your keyboard to bring up your position properties and click a keyframe on all of them. So now let's go back and maybe to about 10 frames into our composition. Let's grab our M here and make sure all your points are centered in your text here. And what we're going to do is, let's see how many I have to drag this down. We're going to move these about 100 down. So I'm going to go to the end of this and do plus 100. After Effects will calculate math. So I'll do that. Click this Y property here and do Command C and paste this onto every other layer. So now all my text is going to be like this, and then I'll go into my other layers here and do, on my Y property, I'm going to do minus 100 to bring it up. And then I'll just copy this number and paste it onto every other text here. So now, as you can see, we're going to have the text come in like this, and we'll stagger it in a second. But first, let's make this a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to select my keyframes here and do F9 on my keyboard. So now that we have that selected, let's go into our graph editor. And here's a little trick here is if you press the accent, it's going to be the accent key, which is your top left key right under your escape button. If you click that, you will be able to actually expand whatever window you're selected. And this is important when you're working in a small space, and especially for what we're going to do to create this animation that's going to have a little bit more life to it. So let's first select our position property here and just fit all graphs to view. So now that we have these selected, we are going to want to make this a little bit more interesting. So click right here for your graph type options, and we're going to go and select our value options. So as you can see, if you select these, you're not able to change the Bezier handle or the curve that's on these. So what we're going to do is right click our position here and go to separate dimensions. So once you click that, our two properties are going to separate themselves, and we'll just fit all graphs to view again. But now when I select these, we're actually going to get that Bezier handle. So what we're going to do is just basically just change what the graph looks like. So I'm going to go with something like this. So we're going to have a very smooth ease, We're going to have a very smooth ease and a sudden change and a very slow return to its position. So now press your accent key again, and we'll go back into our normal view. And let me just solo this this M to see what's going on. So if I was to zoom back and just go forward, it's really subtle. Here we go. Let's see. So it's really subtle, but there's kind of we're going to mess around with the speed, but as you can see, there's kind of a very nice organic movement to these keyframes, and we'll be doing this to all these, and it should work out pretty good. So let's go back into our graph here and unsolo our M layer, and let's just fit all graphs to view here and click our accent button and go back into our Y properties. Fit all graphs to view, and let's actually mess around with our speed just to get this to look a little bit more exciting as well. So now that we're in our speed graph, you can see what the graph is actually doing. So let's grab this, and we'll just drag both Bezier handles as far as we can in. And so what this is going to do is create a very nice snap-like effect to our keyframes. So let's see. So as you can see, the M really sticks out for being the most interesting of all of our keyframes here. And so what we're going to do is just real quick as practice, do these to all of our different letters. So I'm sorry if that's boring, but I'll try to go quick. And if anything, it's good practice. So I'm just going to shy this layer and make sure I know that what I changed. I'll go into my O properties, just fit all graphs to view here. Right click my position, go to separate dimensions. I will come into my accent button to make it a little bit more easy to see. And let's see what we have to do here. Oh, this is my speed still. So switch to your value graph and just give it that same kind of look where it's going to move fast and then slow. Then go back into your speed graph and just change these just like this. As you can see, this is a very repetitive process and you almost don't even need to look at what you're doing, to be completely honest with you. Once you have the kind of movement you want, which I liked, you can just do this real quick. So I'm going to right click this one, separate dimensions, go into my Y position here, go to my value graph, and just highlight that with my selection marquee. Drag this one out, fit all graphs to view, and drag this one over here. And I just like doing this. It's really not as intimidating as you think. When you first start using the graph editor, it's pretty awful and most people hate it and just stop using it. But as long as you can kind of understand what's going on, it's not nearly as bad as you think. So I'm going to click this little shy guy here. Go to position one more time, separate dimensions, go to my value graph, and just repeat this process. And you can do this for a lot of your other projects. Like the same kind of movement on your keyframes always seems to look pretty good. So go to my speed graph, and also this process, as you can see, like starts to take no time at all. And if you memorize something like some kind of shape of the graph that you really seem to like, feel free to use it for any of your projects and you'll probably get a pretty decent effect every time. So separate your dimensions, go into your value graph, click your Y position, just give it that same kind of look to make it a little bit more interesting and not so standard and boring. A lot of people just go with the standard easy ease effect, and I hate that. It's very noticeable and looks kind of, I don't know, you know, it's like the quick fix for a lot of stuff. And I mean, with just a couple extra seconds, you can get something that looks way better than other people's stuff, at least in my opinion. Go to this position, separate dimensions. We only have one more to go, so hang in there, guys. It's not that bad. So go to the value here, and we'll just change this graph a little bit more. Get this nice little snap going. Go here and go to your speed graph, and we'll change these. Also, I'm just going to say I have been getting some comments that I haven't been able to respond to. I normally try to respond to everybody, but for some reason my Google notification thing is just not giving me comments. So if I miss you, I'm really sorry. I promise I'm not ignoring you. Hope we're still friends, but if you had a question that I didn't answer, feel free to leave a comment in this video or any future videos or really any videos, and I will do my best to respond to you. Yeah, so anyway, I'll just do this last letter and then we're there, and I promise everything else is going to be really quick. So now I have those all set up. Press my accent to go back into my normal view here. Click my shy on again, and I'll do Command A to highlight all my layers and press U to minimize all of them. F2 to unselect all my layers, and then I'm just going to select all my main MoGraph letters and unclick the shy button and click shy one more time just so I only have my regular MoGraph, the text or this middle font here. So let's select all these and press U, and we're going to see all these keyframes. So let's select all of them except for the bottom one, and holding Alt, press the right key twice to just move over our keyframes, and then select all of them except for almost the bottom one, and do Alt and press right twice. And this is just going to be staggering all of our layers. So I'm just going to keep repeating this, and then 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2. So I'm going to press the accent just so you can see we have this nice stagger now, and I'll go back to my normal view. Command A to select all my layers and U to minimize them, and let's just see. So as you can see, there's a little bit of life in all those letters now. So I'm going to press U actually. I'm going to do, I'm just going to drag my selection marquee over all my letters here, holding Alt, click and hold just for a second on this end keyframe of one of them, and we're going to just drag this out. And so what this does is just scale up our keyframes without changing what we did. So now we still have that same kind of movement on our letters, and it's just a little bit longer because it moved a little bit too quick for me. And if you go to your graph, it's still going to have that same kind of movement. So now that we have that set up, let's start using pre-comps for our projects, which are really helpful after you have what you want to work on done. So first I'm going to select our MoGraph layer here and just click continually rasterize, just so it's going to be nice and crystal clear and we won't have any aliasing issues on the sides of our letters. And do Shift Command C to pre-compose these. I'm going to call this MoGraph, or I'll call these main text. And we're now going to have a composition. So on your composition, just click this continually rasterize, and that's going to work great. So just go forward on your timeline until all your text is in. Make sure none of the layers are selected, and press Q on your keyboard to cycle through your rectangle tools or your shape layer tools, or just go up here and click your rectangle tool. And what I'm going to do is drag a shape over all my letters and just get as close as you can to them, and I'll just center this with my move anchor point tool and center it in the middle of my composition here, and unshine your layer, and I'm going to call this main text mask, and I'm going to drag my main text mask over my main text, and I'm going to go and click the alpha matte on my main text. So what this is going to do is just hide all of our layers without having to add an alpha mask over every single layer. And that's the beauty of pre-composing your layers. So now that we have this set up, as you can see, we're having a nice look already happen. So I'm going to now unshine all my layers and then just shine the layers I've already worked on. So I'm going to do my main text mask, my main text, and my background. I'll just shine those layers and shine everything. And now let's get into the logo. For the logo, we'll also be doing an alpha mask, but we'll do a really easy one. So just cycle through your shape layers or go up here and select the ellipse tool and drag a circle over your composition. Center your anchor point in the middle with your move anchor point tool. If you don't have this script, feel free to download it in the description of this video. It's a really great free script and I love it. So I'm going to center this all in the middle of my composition perfectly. I'll press S on my keyboard to bring up the scale properties and just go back a little bit and scale this down to 0. So now that we have that set up, let's just try to time this to all come in together. Normally I don't like to do that, but it works really well for logo builds to get everything to come in like all quick and all together. It makes you look awesome, so I recommend doing it. So let's add this easy ease effect to these keyframes, F9 on your keyboard, and go into your graph editor and just go into your speed graph, and we're going to do just a real quick change to this speed graph. So just grab this left handle here and just drag it out, and we're just going to get this nice little bump to make it a little bit different, but we don't have to do too much with it because it's just a mask. So I'm going to call this one logo mask, and I'm going to drag my logo mask down on top of my logo, and on my logo, my track matte mode, I'm going to set this to alpha matte, and so now as you can see, it's going to kind of, I don't know, like build on in like a circle pattern. So I think that looks pretty nice. Everything's coming in pretty well. Let's go ahead and bring in our little sticks over here. So now that we have our logo mask and logo built, let's shine these layers and go into our sticks. So this is where I'm going to show you another really nice little graph trick to get some more nice motion. So first, we're going to use our move anchor point tool to move our anchor so we can scale it from like each of these sides of the stick. Additionally, if you don't want to use this script, you can use the pan behind tool right up here, and the shortcut is Y. So I'm going to select this top left stick and put my anchor point into this bottom corner. As you can see, it moved. I'll set my bottom right stick and just click up here and pop it up over there. The bottom left stick, move it into this corner, and the top right stick and move it into this corner. So with those anchor points set, let's press S on our keyboard to bring up our scale and go back and set a keyframe, and then just go backwards just a little bit in time, maybe to when everything's starting to come in, so this M is kind of popping up, and just scale these down to 0. So they're going to always scale up from the anchor point, which looks pretty cool. So we have that pop up. But, and make sure you move your end keyframes to right when everything's built so it all comes in together. So it's kind of just a lot going on at once. So personally, I did not like this movement that was happening with these graphs here. So select your graphs and do F9, and let me show you another really nice way to make your movement look a little bit better. So I'm going to select this these keyframes here and go into my graph view and just toggle my accent, which is that upper left key of your keyboard and just press it. I think a shortcut should be popping up down here if you didn't see the symbol. I think it's called an accent grave, but I'm not sure. Alright, so now that we have our top right stick selected, just select your scale and our graph will pop up. And what I'm going to do is go into my, my value graph first, and let's take a look at what this is. So basically, this is the movement. It's going to so this is 100%, you can tell by the number here, and this is 0%, so this is the scale. I want it to kind of have a little spring to it, so it's going to like get bigger and then settle in. So all we're gonna have to do is select this end little keyframe here. With our Bezier handle, just drag this up until our arc is actually going up to maybe like 115%. So now our graph is going to have a little hump and like kind of settle into our graph. So now let's go into our speed graph and just to see how this is looking. So our speed graph has this nice drop down and it's going to arrive at here. But what I'm going to do to make it a little bit quicker is just actually drag down, holding shift, drag down this end point to make it not settle just on 0 as the speed. It's going to still be going pretty fast when it stops. And that's going to add like that excitement factor. So let's click out of our graph editor here, or our accent grave, and let's just take a look at what this motion is looking like and see if we want to put that on all of our other letters. So I'll click out of my graph editor and let's take a look. So which one stuck out to you? If I play this a couple times, you're going to see that this one kind of gets too big and settles in. So with only 2 keyframes, we kind of have this like jello, cool looking effect. And we're going to add this to all of our other sides, and it's going to create a nice little pop to everything. So I like that look. I hope you guys are digging it. I'm going to just shy this bottom layer to make sure I remember that I already did it. Select these keyframes, go into our graph editor, click our accent grave to go into our large graph view. I'm going to go over here to our value graph and just change this Bezier handle. I'll just tilt this up to 115 or so, and you can just do, I mean, you can have fun with this. Definitely mess around with a graph editor. It is definitely a funner. It's a fun little feature of After Effects. I used to really hate it. I'm getting used to it. It's definitely a learning process to having fun with it. If anyone, I think people are probably being like, you're crazy for having fun with a graph editor. And yeah, I am, I guess, a little crazy for actually enjoying using it. But I wasn't good at math class, so this is kind of my way of getting back at everybody. Or not everybody, I don't know what I'm saying. But yeah, it's just my way of like, I don't know. Yeah, I remember what these graphs look like. This is a sine graph or whatever. So now that I've completely bored you guys and you probably have clicked off the video, I will just do this last one and get into the rest of this video and show you the cool stuff. So I'm going to edit this value graph, change my Bezier handle, just tilt this up to 115, go into my speed graph and just fit all graphs to view. Grab this last one and just drag it down a bit. Go here, minimize this, click my accent grave, and we'll see how this is looking. Nice, so we have a nice little organic pop to everything. I like that. And now what we're going to do is just animate the last 4 elements, and we are going to be all done with this video. If you guys are liking it so far, the design part or this graph part, please drop me a comment or leave me a like. It makes me want to keep making videos, and I really like hearing from you guys. So, yeah, now that I said that stupid thing, let's go and just get these, the 2014 in here. So I'm just going to go forward a little bit to my logo is just about built. Press B on my keyboard with both my 20 and my 14 layers selected and create a keyframe. Go backwards a little bit, even before the M is on the screen. And what we're going to do is just drag our we'll go on our left our X property of our 20 here and do minus 100 and see where that puts it. So that looks pretty good. So I'll just go to my other side and move it 100. So I'll do plus 100 to move it an equal distance off the screen. I will select both these layers and do F9 on my keyboard. And let's go into our graph editor and click our accent grave. And we're going to be making a couple quick changes just like we did before to create that nice smooth motion. So first I'm going to go into my value graph here, my value graph, And remember, we won't be able to change these because they're not separate. So we're just going to right click, go to separate dimensions, fit all graphs to view, and come over here. And we are going to, what are we going to do with this? We actually want this to have a little bit of a bounce, or just have it like get too large, because this is going to be our bounce back. So just bring your position a little bit above where it's going to finish, and just move it like this. So you're going to have the little hump of the position. So it goes too far and then settles back in spot. So I'm going to click my accent grave just to double check that I'm telling you the right thing. And as you can see, there is that little spring back. It does go too far. So that is great. So I'm going to go back here and click my Y position. Or I think it's actually my X position. And fit all graphs to view. And we're going to see our motion here. And this is not going to work. This is kind of a weird curve, at least for me. So I'm going to make this just a little bit different here. Maybe make it a little bit more gentle, because that was a pretty crazy, crazy change there. So just give it a little bit of a bounce back. You might even want to, so this is the speed. Maybe have it nice and smooth. You don't really need to make it go too crazy. You do want to keep that organic motion. So I'm going to go into my other one, my value graph, fit all graphs to view, this button right here. Click my position, right click my position, go to separate dimensions, click this, fit all graphs to view, and I'm going to want this to get a little bit too big. I think I'm doing this the right way. Actually, I think it's going to have to go down on this one. So I'll go down a little bit, and then I will just move this guy over. So you have the kind of the dip a little bit too far and settles into its spot. And then I'm going to go and click my value or my speed graph here. Fit all graphs to view, and just take a look at what this is doing. And once again, it's going too far, so I'm just going to drag this one back and drag this one forward a little bit and get this nice smooth S curve. And click out of my graph editor and click my accent grave to go back to my normal view. Hopefully I didn't mess things up too bad. Let's see, is this noticeable even? It's not. So I think I did something bad with that speed graph. Let me go fix that. So I'm just going to go back into my graph here, click my accent grave, go and click my X position, fit all graphs to view, and let's actually change this back. So I'm just going to hold shift and just drag this keyframe out until my S curve is going above my other line, and I'll do the same thing. So as always, we're doing a little bit of troubleshooting as I make a silly mistake, but it's a good learning process. Maybe get you guys a little more knowledge, I hope. And let's see, did that fix it? Nice. So that's not perfect. They're not identical. You can spend more time on that if you want, and there is a little bit of a bounce back. You could definitely make that more significant, but it adds a nice little movement with just 2 keyframes. So let's grab our 20 and our 14. Make these continually rasterized and do Shift Command C to pre-compose them. I'm just going to call this layer numbers, and we're going to do the same thing and create a rectangle, and press F2 to unselect all your layers, and I'm just going to draw this rectangle right over these numbers just a little bit. I'm going to call these numbers alpha. Numbers alpha. Ooh, I spelled that wrong. Numbers alpha, and unclick my shy layers. Just drag my numbers alpha above my numbers and click my shy layers again. On my numbers layer, click alpha matte, and now they should pop in at the same times. Cool, and there is that little bounce back. It's really subtle, but yeah, I tried. So let's hide these numbers and numbers alpha layer with the shy switch, and just get these last 2 little special and the summits into our animation, and we'll be all set. So basically all I did for this was just created another circle layer or ellipse layer, and just drag this over everything, center my anchor point, and center this in the middle of my composition. Press T to see your opacity and just turn this down and see how it's looking. I might actually scale this up a little bit. That should be all right. Maybe actually scale this down. I was just kidding. That should be fine. I can actually unclick my constrained proportions and just turn my Y down to kind of fit the curve of everything a little bit better, and then just scale it up. So we kind of almost have an ellipse and not a perfect circle. So I'm going to call this summit. I'm just going to call this extra mask, I guess. And then I'll select my summit and my special and go back to when everything else is still coming in, and press P on my keyboard to bring up my position properties and set a keyframe. Go back, and I will just drag this out, just real simple, just out from on top of the circle. And let's just do F9 to make these easy ease, and we'll just add a nice pop effect. So go into your speed graph, fit all graphs to view, select both the keyframes over here by holding and dragging, and we're just going to scale this way up. And this is just going to be a simple pop. We don't need to do anything too fancy with it. If you want, you can mess around with the graph editor and add another little bounce back, which always looks pretty good. I might have done that in the regular video, or the first video I showed you guys. I really don't remember. But this one kind of has a nice snap, and I like that. So I'm going to grab my summit and my special and do Shift-Command-C. I'm going to call this extra content. Pre-compose that. Actually, I'm going to have to click into my pre-composed layer and do continually rasterize to make sure that it stays nice and sharp for us. Go into my normal one, unclick my shy guy, press U to minimize everything, T to bring up your opacity, turn your extra mask opacity all the way up, and put this above your extra content. Extra content, go to alpha matte, and there we are. Press 0 to preview, and there we go. We have this really nice, smooth swag badge, which I think looks really cool. So anyway, what we can do if you want is just drag this Hipster Swag Badge comp, or whatever your main comp is, into this little button here to create another composition with it nested, and just go forward on your timeline, and maybe around like 2.5 seconds, or once your animation is in, do Option forward bracket to cut your layer, and do Command D to duplicate your layer. Right click that layer, or select both your layers, right click, go to Keyframe Assistant, Sequence Layers, don't click Overlap, press OK, and this is just going to put them like this. So whatever layer comes after, just right click that one and go to Time, and go to Time Reverse Layer, and press O to go to the out point of that layer, and N to set your workspace, and press 0 to preview. And now we'll get even a reverse effect without having to do any extra keyframes. So we have a build in and a build out of a Hipster Swag Badge in no time at all. So thanks a lot for checking out the channel, guys. I hope you liked this video. I hope you learned something. Leave a comment or drop me a like if you'd like to see more videos like this. Anyway, I really appreciate your guys' support, and get your learn on. Peace out.